tried it again, DVB-T2. And I've highlighted the most relevant DVB systems in red, because I still want to elaborate a little bit on them. But what do all these systems have in common? Basically, all these systems coming from high power, high tower architectures have not been successful. Okay, my friends always tell me I should be more optimistic when I speak about things. So I do not say they have been failures. I say they have not been successful. And basically, it was always the same reason which did not work. First one, they are technical challenges. Mostly the restricted indoor reception as compared to outdoor or rooftop reception. And I will later show a little bit more on this. Second, I say there is low end user interest in watching broadcast TV on handhelds. And third, there are also a lot of commercial challenges. And this is the extra cost for the handset. It's also the extra cost for the network. And in the end, nobody had a real good business case to compensate for these costs. Okay, indoor reception. I have a good friend, Kent Walker, who was working for Qualcomm. He's retired now. Kent was a person I always respected. He was, for me, the absolute authority when it came to RF and other problems. And he made this slide, which I showed here. So he basically compares rooftop reception with mobile reception on the ground in a house. And he comes to the conclusion the difference is 47 dB. So the signal on your mobile, the signal strength at your mobile is by 47 dB below the one from a rooftop antenna. And you all know 47 dB is a lot. So I shouldn't be so pessimistic. So let's say indoor reception is about 30 to 50 dB less signal strength. That basically means it does not work. So what you have to do, you have to improve your network by additional low or medium power transmitter, which of course cost extra money. Then the other question is, do people really want to watch broadcast television on handhelds? And here I have a statistic and a picture which I've stolen from Ofcom. Ofcom is the broadcast regulator in the UK. Every year they give user statistics, which is a very good source of information. And basically the average UK citizen watches 5 hours of television a day, which is a lot. And they watch it on the big screen, the television, and they watch it on the little screen, the handheld. And on the television, basically they watch about 4 hours and 10 minutes. And these 4 hours and 10 minutes are 40 minutes broadband, on-demand television, and 3.5 hour broadcast television. You remember my definition from the beginning. And on the handheld, out of the 5 hours, they watch 3 minutes of broadcast television. And this shows me very clear that people want to watch video on their handheld. But when they use their handheld, they want to have control over it. And so the content they typically consume is content like Netflix or YouTube or also TikTok or whatever. And finally, the commercial challenges. Okay, I say here, not all apples grow on trees. Of course, you know what I mean by this. It means one of the commercial problems is the handheld. In the former times, about 10, 15 years ago, the handhelds were subsidized by the telecom operators. This business model has a little bit gone down. Now it's basically, we have big handsets manufacturers. They have a hardware platform and they want to sell this hardware platform on a worldwide basis. So they make little adaptations, but they are not willing to go too much out of the way. So these big providers, Apple would be one of them here, I do not see a big interest or willingness of them to integrate different additional hardware in their devices to support the mobile TV broadband use case. Okay, but I promised you to a little bit speak about my own experiences here. And here is the rise and fall of DVB-H. So DVB-H was the first system from this category. And it started actually quite successful. I think from all the systems I've shown, DVB-H must have been the most used one. And in 2008, there were 15 service providers offering DVB-H on a worldwide basis. So we had DVB in Vietnam, DVB-H in Vietnam, we had it in Europe, we had it in Africa, in South Africa. We even had for a short time a DVB-H system here in the US. And the one in Italy had about 300,000 subscribers, so it was not too bad, yeah. However, now coming to the fall, most services were switched off by 2012. That was a short span of 4 years, yeah. And just one technical aspect, the resolution was very limited, and the data rate was also limited, yeah. So you see here one of the typical devices. And I don't think that any one of you would like to watch a complete soccer game on this device. Okay, now coming back to Madame Redding. Yeah. Madame Redding was a big promoter of mobile TV. And what she wanted to achieve was that the European Commission would mandate DVB-H as a mobile TV solution in Europe. She was not 100% successful of this. Here is a press release from July 2007, and I highlighted the keywords in red. So she was using, or the Commission was using favoring, urging, facilitating, accelerating, encouraging, and DVB-H. So very nice words, but none of these words means mandating. Yeah. So it was a strong recommendation, but that's what it was. And what was DVB saying about this? So here we have the former chairman of DVB, Mr. Phil Laven. And when he was resigning from his chairman role in September 2016, he made an interview with DVB-C magazine. And there he was clearly saying that DVB-H was a failure in the market. So different to me, Phil was using the word failure. And he blames it on the reluctance of mobile network operator to subsidize DVB-H in the subsidized handsets. He was also making another interesting statement about the EU plan to mandate DVB-H. And he said that this plan was not successful. And I mean, of course, I know I was partly involved in the discussion at that time, yeah. And we had the discussion in DVB whether it's good or bad if we have a mandate from the European Commission that one of our technologies would be mandated. And the senior management agreed it's not a good idea. The market should decide what is a good or a bad technology and not politicians. So in the end, DVB, at least the senior management, was relatively happy that there was no strong mandate from the European Commission on DVB-H. And there's another aspect I would like to bring, and that was the rise of 4G. So here you see the green curve is the percentage of used 3G handsets, and the blue curve is a rise of the 4G handsets, the usage of 4G handsets. And basically, 4G was the first mobile technology which was really capable of delivering video to the end user. In theory, you could also have done it with 3G, but the average data rates of 3G were about 4 to 5 megabit per second, and that was at that time not sufficient for bringing reliable video to the end user. But with 4G, that was possible. And when you see the time window of DVB-H services, my personal opinion is it's not a coincidence that basically DVB-H somehow stopped and 4G came up. And that was also an important point for broadcasters. Before this, broadcasters had basically a monopoly to bring video into your over the air. But now with 4G networks, basically telecom operator could do the same. Okay, what about DVB-T2, which came way later? So also the DVB-T2 was developed not only for broadcast, for high tower broadcast, but it also had robust modes and a time multiplex called T2 Lite designed for mobile applications. For some time, we promoted the mobile DVB-T2 use case. And for a short time, smartphones and tablets with DVB-T2 receptions were available. So here you see a chipset from Sony with dual reception, which was specifically developed for the mobile use case. It had diversity reception, it had a low power consumption. And here you see on the left side, you see devices with integrated DVB-T2 tuner. On the right side, you see a younger version of myself promoting mobile TV and DVB-T2 in India. But it all did not help. So in the end, mobile TV with DVB-T2 suffered from the same problem as DVB-H. In this case, indoor reception, no support by telecom operators. The T2-enabled devices disappeared as fast as it popped up. Around 2016, recognizing all this, DVB decided to stop any physical layer work. So not only for terrestrial, but also for satellite and cable anyway had stopped before. And focusing on higher layer specifications and IP delivery. And as a new work item, DVB now works on 5G MEC for the higher layers of 5G broadcast. And this brings me to the new kids on the block, as I call them. And there are two new kids on the block. I start with the first one, LTE-based 5G broadcast. It was developed by 3GPP. So this time it comes from the telecom specification organization. Can be used standalone without a SIM card, interworking with other 3GPP services, optimized for minimum additional hardware cost. It was not optimized for spectral efficiency. It was optimized to minimize the changes in a received chip of a mobile phone. And it had no time interleaver. But, okay, and this is the first time I use a footnote in a presentation slide. Recognizing that the time interleaver is essential, in release 19 of 3GPP, a time interleaver was added to 5G broadcast, and this happened in December last year. Now it's the question how successful, how much will the performance be improved by adding this time interleaver. Okay, there's another new kit on the block. It's ATSC 3.0. And here I was using artificial intelligence to create a picture. It was developed by ATSC for a wide range of use cases. It's optimized for maximum spectrum efficiency in a traditional DVB-T scenario. Madeleine Noland is not in the room by statement. And it has faced with the same challenges. And I don't have to repeat them. I mentioned them several times in my presentations. I also learned that in the end user is not really so keen on watching broadcast television on a mobile handset or a tablet. And I mean, I just have to look at myself and I look at my own consumption behavior for media. When I use my phone or my tablet, it's mostly non-broadband content I'm watching. And yes, if you really want to transmit video for a mobile device, you can do it over 4G or 5G network relatively well. And what about the new kids on the block? Okay, when using a high tower infrastructure, all the issues remain. But I would like to also make a positive statement here. I think there are also interesting use cases. When you combine the new kits, the capabilities of the new kits with other 3GPP features like bidirectional unicast. And I think there can be interesting applications, but we all need to be creative. Think about good solutions and good usages for the combination of these technologies here. And we have two new kits. We have 5G broadcast and ATSC 3.0, and they come from a very different direction here. Whereas ATSC comes from the broadcast world and requires a dedicated tuner in the phone. 5G broadcast is more adopted to the telecom world, and typically no extra tuner is required. So with this, I want to end my sharing my experiences. I want to remind you that the message I just delivered was brought to you by IEEE BTS. Ideally, you should become a BTS member today. And my question to Samina, when people come to our booth, can they sign up to be a member?
Yes, at half price.
Yes, at half price. You heard it from the president. Okay, so there is good reason to come to our booth, but there's another reason to come to our booth, because I do not promise too much when I say this is probably the first time, and definitely the last time, that you can see demonstrations of all the three systems I've spoken about in real life at the booth. So if you come to our booth, you will see mobile TV demos with ATSC 3.0, EVB T2, and 5G broadcast. So that should be, in addition to getting member for half a price, be a strong motivation for you to come. So I'm happy to welcome you at the booth and maybe discuss your opinion about broadcast TV in combination with mobile. Maybe you have different ideas, different inputs here. So visit us, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Peter. We have plenty of time left for questions. If someone wants, we have microphones, or you don't have to use one if your microphone shy. So any questions for Professor? Shirley.
So in the US, the ATSC 3 seems to be primary, but I mean, it's not set in stone. So is there a particular technology that is to be taken off here or preference?
I think, I mean, it's a good question. And ATSC 3.0 is a marvelous technology, and I agree to your statement. It seems to be somehow set for the North American continent. But I think so the question is, what do you want to achieve? And you may have noticed in my presentation, I do not believe in the use case of just duplicating what you have on the big television screen when you do broadcast reception to duplicate it on a mobile. This does not work. And so you have to think about other business cases, other application. And these other business cases or application may be possible with ATSC 3.0 in combination, that's my opinion, with a telecom technology, or they may require a different technology. But first, you have to find your commercial use case which can give you also a positive business case. And then you can think about the technology. And I think in the past, it was always done the other way around. People had a technology and were looking for a use case. Does this answer your question?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's an excellent question. Too often we put the technology horse before the business case use. And sometimes it can go either way, but
I can tell you, Greg, standardization organizations have a tendency to do this here. They love to put technology before the business case here.
it's easier done because they only have to prove it to themselves. Other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Soji.
Hi, Coach Sugiyama with Eidoshi from Japan. And my question is, I completely agree with your opinion on scenario for undergraduate users. How about the automotive users? Do you have any idea?
I have an idea on this, Soji. Yeah. I'm very happy that you came here. And I always liked your question. Yeah. Okay, the automotive use case. From a pure reception conditions, the automotive use case is much easier to handle than the indoor use case. I mean, you can put 4 antennas on your car, you have diversity reception, which really works quite well. Yeah. But there is one problem. You are not allowed to watch television when you drive. And typically, there's only one person in the car. Yeah. At least in this country here, and also in my country. I don't know about Japan. Yeah. I don't know how many people sit in the car in Japan. Yeah. So you can watch television when you stand, but you cannot watch television when you drive. So boring. Yeah. Does it sound?
Thank you.
Simple question, when you look at your link budget, you mentioned the building penetration power requirements of NAB. What's the standard deviation?